So we welcome anybody to come talk to us with any point of view whatsoever. And if you want to do it off the record, do it. We would much prefer to have an open discussion so people can hear everybody's opinion.
Well, do we really want them calling and crying about being the victim, though? I'm just kidding. All right, welcome to the JudgeMental podcast. Today is a current events day. We're going to talk about the Armand Langford case. Armand Langford case out of Louisville, Kentucky, where a man with 19 robberies was shock probated. He was rearrested on a home invasion, robbery of a bank, a PNC, and allegedly stabbed a woman. All of these allegations are alleged, LOL. How many times did I say that in one sentence?
Yep.
Also, we are going to talk about a RICO case that was filed against Family Court out of Missouri. Last time we did our recap of the 5 different divisions, so we want your feedback. Also, we did a special on YouTube. We were the first people to release the sentencing and the shock probation hearing of Armand Langford on our YouTube. It is youtube.com. Our handle is Judging the Judges, and just Google or search Judge-Y. But you want to get into it?
Sure.
All right, so Armand Langford, this was in front of Judge Jessica Green, just a super, super short recap. There was, I think it was August 8th, there was a woman was in St. Matthews. A man allegedly entered her house, abducted her and her 2 minor children at Knife Point, right?
Yep.
Made her drive to a PNC bank on Shelbyville Road, allegedly stabbed her in the stomach or something.
Narrowly missed her lung.
Oh, my gosh.
And, demanded $20,000 from the bank. The bank complied, put $20,000 on the ground. He grabbed it and ran and was caught later that afternoon just down the street.
Allegedly. And then when he was rearrested, come to find out, he was on probation for 19 robbery seconds and 1 burglary first. He had 14-year sentence.
Yeah, and at the sentencing, we got to hear from one of the victims and how she was terrorized and permanently injured and was never going to feel safe and secure again.
She was a badass.
She was.
Yeah. And so it was interesting because we initially got the shock. And so shock probation is something that the judge has absolute discretion to do if it's a probation eligible offense. And essentially it has to be filed 30 days after sentencing and before 180 days, because after that 180 days, you become basically property of the Department of Corrections, and everything's going to happen through parole and through the executive branch. And when we were watching the shock probation hearing, it seemed like a foregone conclusion.
No,
right?
It did. Really felt like, okay, this is what's going to happen next. And at the shock, I mean, there were several things that were notable about it, as we pointed out in the YouTube videos. During the sentencing, the judge set a hearing for shock probation. And shock probation doesn't happen unless the defense attorney files a motion, and it has to be filed 30 days after the sentencing.
Oh, yeah, that is like something that cannot be understated. And that's why we got the sentencing, because we watched the shock, and I was like, what the fuck? You can't, like, it made no sense.
No, it made no sense. And then it just became clear the judge set the shock, told the attorney to file the shock. So it was like, this is going to happen. It was predetermined. And so, and this is a very intelligent judge. This is somebody that this was not, I mean, so...
Former prosecutor.
Yeah, this was somebody who really knows what they're doing, which is what concerns me, is because it just seemed like this was happening. This was all put in place.
Like
it was all
treatment.
perfunctory. It certainly seemed like special treatment, because this is not a case, and I'm not the criminal attorney in the room. You are the expert at those kinds of things, and you've made very clear, this is not your normal case for shock probation. Not 19 violent crimes. No. Then all of a sudden, and it's not even that a defense attorney wouldn't make the motion, because the defense attorney is going to make the motion. That's their job. But it was just presumed that this person was going to be before this judge for shock probation, and the judge just went ahead and set the hearing and then approached it from the point of view that she was granting it right from the very beginning.
Basically. And the thing that's bizarre, like when I saw it, I have never seen a shock hearing set at sentencing. It's not allowed by statute. It's KRS 439-285. I think that's right. But it has to be after that 30 days. I reached out to an attorney in Eastern Kentucky. I reached out to an attorney in Western Kentucky. I've never seen that happen. Like thousands of cases I've watched. It was so bizarre. And I asked some Louisville attorneys, like, do you guys set shock hearings at sentencing. And then some of the feedback that I got was, well, if the Commonwealth isn't objecting to shock as part of the plea, they may set it for a hearing, which I still think is an absolute violation of
Well, the statute says how you have to do it.
Yeah, and this is one of those things, I know it's like I get on my little soapbox, it's super annoying, but I'm just like, Louisville makes up its own rules. Like, I was a practicing attorney for almost 5 years, tried, Class B felonies. I came into Louisville District Court the first time I was here, and I was like,
I was like, a different country.
Just because you guys say 17 acronyms doesn't mean you're smart. Like, it's like there is just this entitlement in the Louisville elected arena. Now, obviously, I'm a big Louisville fan as far as our food and our entertainment and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I was shocked that the judge did that. And then the fact that the judge sentenced this man to 14 years and then probated him to his mommy's house and to outpatient treatment.
But also to mental health court, and said over and over and over that this was only going to be if he gets accepted into mental health court, and it's contingent on this.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't get accepted, and the order comes out and never even mentions it.
Yeah, so she didn't. I mean,
the order contradicts everything that she said in the sentencing.
Right. Well,
I'm sorry, in the shock hearing.
Well, it's like in judges speak through the written orders, which is like flashback to what an attorney had to tell Division 5 on Monday. But I digress. But they do. They speak through the written orders. So in her oral rulings, I guess if you want to call them that, is like, oh, I'm going to shock you if you get into mental health court, mental health court, mental health court.
And I really hope you do. I really hope you do. And it's like really rooting for you here. And then he doesn't get in. It's like, I'm going to do it anyway, and just issues an order that was... it was really shocking to release someone with, I mean, one of my big takeaways from the sentencing was that this defendant's mother is a very impressive, accomplished person. Clearly, he had a good family system around to help, and this stuff was still happening. And so the judge made the decision well, she's smart. He's got a good family system. They're obviously able to manage him. We're just going to make him follow his mom's rules and live there and not be accountable to anyone else.
Yeah, and I'm a jackass. I completely interrupted you. We haven't even told everyone listening about what the victim said. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, what did the victim, when she did her victim impact statement, where she said that, she was leaving a funeral. She was elderly. She was going to the ATM to buy the family from the funeral food. And
got robbed. Yeah, so, I mean, it was bizarre. And it's bizarre. It's infuriating in and of itself because there are victims here. And another person actually got stabbed. And the kids, I think 7 and 11 years old, one was autistic. And had to sit there and ride in the car with someone who had a knife up to their mom's neck. Allegedly. So that's infuriating. But it comes at a time politically that... this case seems to be tailor-made for people that want to take a lot of the power away from the judges, who I still believe are in the best position to determine what happens to specific defendants in their courts and the circumstances, and to look at it. And you can't, if you legislating that away and going back to cookie cutter, you have to do things this way every single time. It didn't work. It's been tried. It hasn't worked.
Well, and I completely agree. This is the notion of separation of powers, and we have 3 branches of government, and that the judiciary should be in charge of what the judiciary is in charge of. The legislature should be in charge of what the legislature is in charge of. And now the legislature, they were given a gift. By a judge that made a horrifically bad ruling.
Yes, absolutely.
Horrifically bad, wrong, awful. Don't have enough words to say how stupid this decision was.
It just makes no sense.
No, and I think there's more to it. I mean, I don't think there's any. Now, by law, the charges were eligible for probation.
Yes.
So she had the statutory authority to probate them, although she didn't have the statutory authority to set the shock hearing.
No.
But I think that was probably remedied for legal gurus out there once he filed the motion.
Yeah, it is important that we say that the judge had the authority to do this. And I still think it's a very important authority and discretion for a judge to have. I think a judge should be able to shock probate people and to look at the circumstances of a case for a large number of reasons. And I hate that authority and that discretion is being criticized based on a bad decision. There are going to be bad decisions. Anytime you give people discretion, there are going to be bad decisions. I don't like that, but it is just, you're right, handing people a gift.
It was handing the other side a gift to politicize a weapon. Now, I do think, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I do think that it needs to be investigated.
It absolutely needs to be investigated.
I think there is more to the story about why this young man got probation. I don't think someone with, guys, and we haven't fully explained this on this podcast, we're talking about 19 individual robberies with either a gun, a knife, or a rock or physical force used on 19 random people.
Including elderly people.
Yes. That is not something, that should have been probated to fucking outpatient treatment. Like I said on my appearance on WHS 840, everyone was set up for failure. If this young man has significant substance abuse issues, they allege mental health issues, they allege a traumatic brain injury, but he was set up for failure by outpatient treatment and follow the rules of your mommy.
Yeah, it just seemed nonsensical. The court kept talking about the family support, which clearly was there, but those 19 things happened with that family support. Mm-hmm. And so then saying, well, clearly the situation is good enough at home to make sure this doesn't happen again. This made absolutely no sense to me. And I agree with you. I am so not jump to conclusions about anything, but the more we've dug into it, the more I think there clearly was something else going on there. This was some form of a favor or something like that I believe will be uncovered. There just isn't another explanation for it. That
makes sense, especially with a judge that's smart.
Well, especially with... It isn't like we had a judge that appeared to be on the fence or against it and had to be convinced. This seemed like this was determined from the beginning, and that just doesn't smell good.
And it was like come hell or high water, because it was like, okay, you're getting shock probated, even though you didn't get into mental health court. You know what I mean? Not that I think personally mental health court would have been appropriate. I think inpatient dual diagnosis would have been the absolute minimum, but I just can't foresee probating 19 victim crimes.
My issue, though, is more that just like the judge is very clear. I will do this, but only under these circumstances. Those circumstances didn't pan out, and something happened that we don't... I mean, obviously something happened when the cameras weren't rolling and when the record wasn't on, that just a decision was made. Well, we don't need those extra protections. Let's just grant it.
And it doesn't pass the smell test to me.
It really doesn't.
I hope they do investigate it. And I hope with everything that happens, like one, I get on my soapbox about how the local media is just incompetent, frankly, and they don't report on things accurately. They don't report on the things that they should report on. But everything is nuanced and more complicated, and I don't want to make blanket statements. And I 100% believe that people with substance abuse issues need treatment. I am all for probating drug addicts to treatment. I mean, Purdue Pharma, the devil. Sackler family, the devil, all day. Like, if there had been 19 thefts of a weed eater from a garage, put the person in rehab, inpatient rehab, like all day. But you just up the ante when you're willing to traumatize 19 people, Yeah,
well, and physically injure. He caused permanent physical damage to an elderly person. Well, he was convicted of doing that, so that's not even allegedly. And we heard a statement at the sentencing from the victim. So...
just crazy. And then the media reaction, like you said, about just like the politics side of it, is everybody just has their little fangs out to be like, ooh, how can I spin this to my talking point? How can I spin this to my talking point? And it's like, let's actually look at the root of the problem. One, the case needs to be investigated to see if there's a connection between the family and the judge or something else going on there. And then two, there was a WDRB article that, of course, made me mad. Can you imagine that? About they were just basically saying, one, how it happened, and that they used anonymous sources or judges that wanted to have anonymity.
Yeah, but I mean, we have anonymous sources.
Good point. We don't have anonymous sources that we get up here and just say, they are the victim, they are the victim, they are scared, they are the best mommy that ever mommied a kid, or they are the best daddy that ever daddied a kid.
That is true.
That article was written like these judges are just in such fear to come and defend their colleague. And you know what? I'd be willing to bet $5,000 to a charity of their choice that these judges did not review the shock hearing, the sentencing hearing, and the file before they picked up the phone, the little anonymous source phone, to say, hey, we're the victim.
There's absolutely no way. I agree completely.
So if there's a judge out there that did all three of those things before you snitched to WDRB and just said, oh my goodness, I'm so scared to go to the country club because someone might, threaten me, I don't believe it in any capacity.
Also, the threats themselves are so problematic. Like I don't know. I guess that's just where we are currently as a society, but that is...
Well, here's the other flip side of this. No, you're right. Do not ever threaten a judge. That's insane. Don't threaten anybody.
Like, what the hell?
But the bigger thing is, if there were these salacious death threats, I didn't see any of them mentioned in the article. Did you?
No.
And
I haven't. Yeah.
That had been clickbait for WDRB all day long.
I agree. I was reading about, reading one of the articles about this, and I got a link to something about a woman that got arrested in Indiana for making a death threat to President Trump. So that they would make clickbait out of death threats of some sort.
So were there any death threats?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it just seems...
That's a good point.
The notion that these judges immediately... Let me tell you something, too, about these district judges. I need a minute. Y'all will never be in a predicament to experience having probated someone with 14 years, okay? It's not possible because you handle traffic tickets and theft from Walmart. You are not important. You work part-time. You know what I mean? You do not have that level of stress on you that you are going to potentially let someone out at sentencing with years on the shelf. That's not the nature of our system. Is that wrong to say? You might let somebody out on bond and something bad will happen, and I see that. But bond and probation are very different.
Yes.
Bond, presumption of innocence.
Yes.
Sentencing, guilty. District judges are not victims of anything ever. They make $140,000 a year, and they adjudicate traffic tickets, misdemeanors, name changes, probate cases, maybe a little bit more contentious. Anything else of importance?
Guardianships.
Yeah, jury does that.
Well, that's true.
Jury does that.
No.
So the 16 district court judges.
Well, they're not always jury.
Guardianships have to be in Kentucky by statute. You could have like pre-stuff, but like if you actually to get one, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know of that. I know I've had a couple guardianship hearings that were bench hearings. Yeah, but they may have been a change. There may be some technical reason why that they would be different under the statute, but I've never dealt with a jury trial.
Well, in complete transparency, now that I say this, the only guardianship experience I ever have stopped in 2014 when I left the public defender's office and would watch those.
I certainly haven't had any since. Mine have all been prior to that. I
completely apologize. And guardianships are a big deal. Yeah. No, I'll look into that because that could be very true.
But you don't end up with, the idea of threats and the idea that someone is going to threaten you for speaking out and saying anything. Give me a break.
Yeah. And just that's your first thought after a woman and, like you said, an autistic child and their sibling were abducted is, oh my gosh, we're the victims.
Yeah, but none of that surprises me. You're going to expect the judge is going to back their colleagues. That's going to happen. You're going to expect the court administrator is going to say something supportive. That's what he's paid for. That's not a surprise. Well, yeah, maybe not in writing, but that's what he's skilled at. He is a smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and he's going. And what he said on its face isn't untrue. That you can't foresee what's going to happen. There will be bad things that happen. Understood. This one, though, you didn't have to have a crystal ball to see that this was a bad idea. This just was bad from the very, very beginning.
Well, and back to that, I'd bet my house that guy was going to reoffend.
Oh, yeah.
My home.
Just I mean, I've there's so many times you're watching those hearings and you can see and everybody is acting a certain way in court and you just have no idea. That one, I mean, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I forgot to tell you. So we only released this on YouTube, and Hugh mentioned like at the beginning of the hearing, like, why is he smirking?
It was just, it was so bizarre. Everything about it was bizarre, but his demeanor at that hearing, nothing good was going to come of that.
I have gotten so many messages and comments of like, Hugh's right. He is smirking. Oh my gosh, he's smirking the whole time. What's on his face? I completely forgot to tell you that. And it's like, he looked to me like medicated, like in a mind-altering way. He looked like he was having more fun than everybody else in the room. And I mean, no disrespect to mental health, like it's just a sad situation all around, and not to make light.
If you're in that state for a judge to say, yeah, you seem like you're ready to just go live back at home again, everything's worked out. Just look at this dude.
And so that was in July of 2024, reoffends allegedly in August of 2025. From the brief review of the court file, it looks like there was a little hearing in October of 2024. So we don't even know what the level of supervision as far as the court involvement. It looks like he was probably just on probation and parole, which to your point, Judge Green said the whole time, I think this case is too much for probation and parole to manage.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. That was really notable to me when she said that.
Yeah.
Oh, this case is too much for them to manage. So then why were they the only ones that had to manage it?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if any family court judges went to defend her. I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of them that had experience in district court or, with practice. I mean, that understand it. I guess we don't have anyone on the bench that was over there anymore.
But I guess when you read the article, too, McKay Chavan is quoted. And that's the court administrator, our BFF and fan of the show. And then, but they just said the judges went anonymity. So, we've talked about on this show how judges are sources for the media. So it could have been somebody from WDRB.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, we need Chavan. We need McKay on. I wish he would come on.
Me too. And I swear we'd be polite. I mean.
Oh, we would have an awesome conversation.
I'd have a beer with him.
Oh my gosh. He is.
I'd have 6.
He is hilarious and one of the more interesting intellectual people. I remember he used to give the training for warning orders to the young attorneys that would get warning order appointments early on in the bench, and he would make these references. I think especially to Hitchhiker's Guide, and like half the room wouldn't get it, or most of the room wouldn't get it, and then a couple people would laugh, and he would then make another reference about the people. Oh, the dude's hilarious. I really would like to sit down and talk with him because I really want to understand.
Yeah.
The point of view that he has on the recording of social media in the courtroom, because it's obviously shared with a lot of other courts. You go on TikTok, you have judges who have channels selectively pick cases that they're going to record. I think that it is not a stretch to say they probably act differently when they are recording for their TikTok channels than they would on the other cases. I could be wrong, but I want to hear that side. So anyway, went off on a tangent, but just an open invitation. Please come talk with us.
Yeah, no, and maybe we should reach out to him and just say, Christine won't be there. Like you and him just have a conversation here. I'm fine with that. I feel like it was clear we ran into him at the courthouse, and it was clear. I think his exact words were me, like, I hear you've been talking shit about me or something like that.
Oh, he did. But he also, when you said, like, sit down with us, he said never going to happen.
Oh, so. I know, but that was us, so maybe he would sit down with you.
I don't know.
But to segue on to that, any last thoughts on Langford? Just like...
No, there's more there, and we have our ideas and suspicions from what we've investigated and spent many hours digging into it, but...
It's troublesome.
If what we suspect is there, it's very troublesome, but more to come.
Yeah, and there are great judges. We'll do that caveat too. It's not all, but it is so frustrating to me. The exact same thing with like law enforcement, that when you saw everything happen in 2020, the fact that judges just blindly support other judges publicly, like that is not helpful at all to maintaining the integrity of the judiciary.
No, that's right. And just like with police officers, just complete solidarity. I mean, there are horrible problems in the system. It doesn't mean that everybody is terrible.
Yeah.
And no one is saying that. But these, it has to be addressed. It can't just be, well, no one has a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Let's just, that could have been any judge. No, I don't think so. This is just there's so many red flags in this case.
Well, and that goes back to because I take the bait all the time, and like I know it drives you crazy. It's like I take the bait because I'll be like, "Oh, you district judges, you don't work," and there are district judges that work really, really hard. And I'm working on a story behind the scenes about some of the district judges that are working. You know, we've never been to court and seen more than 9 judges of the 16 with open courtrooms, right? I think, and typically it's like
Correct.
4, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
But the notion,
and it's usually the same ones.
Yeah.
So a lot of the same ones.
Yeah. And the notion, like, circuit judges have a really, really, really hard job in a much different caseload. Family court judges have a hard job in a much different caseload.
Yes.
Then the responsibility is much different in those 2 courts than it is district court.
I would
and
agree.
I just think district court going, and if it was them being like, oh, we're scared of death threats and talking to the media, it's just insulting to, if it's done properly, the work and the stress that's done at a circuit level.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing is they clearly talked to them. They were given anonymity, and they were still just blanket support and, saying basically all the same thing. So you were given anonymity. If you're really scared about speaking out, then speak out.
True.
No one's naming you.
True.
Don't just keep saying the same thing that everybody's saying, repeating the same lines.
And we will obviously abide by journalistic standards and never reveal sources. And if any judge wants to talk to us anywhere about anything, we will. But I will do the caveat. There are judges that work extremely hard in Louisville and throughout this country. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly. But it's just the system, like you said, like protecting itself that's so infuriating.
Yeah, and I will say we will fiercely defend anonymity of sources and not giving up sources to the point of going and being locked up. It's just something we believe in to our core.
Yep, same as attorney-client privilege, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So we welcome anybody to come talk to us with any point of view whatsoever. And if you want to do it off the record, do it. We would much prefer to have an open discussion so people can hear everybody's opinions.
Well, do we really want them calling and crying about being the victim, though? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Give my number.
So there was everyone is tagging me in this. We're going to segue to family court a little bit, where both of us spent the majority of our career.
Yes.
I can still consider myself raised as a criminal lawyer, but there is a RICO case out of is it St. Louis County or St. Louis, or is that the same thing?
I don't remember. It's out of Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't recall the county.
It's St. Louis Family Court.
Yep.
Yeah. Super fascinating.
It really is. Now, there are a lot of people that you see litigants that are aggrieved, and they will go on they'll go on a social media campaign or, something about court. This person encountered what I always refer to as the system, where you have certain judges and attorneys and all, and they're protecting this sort of machine that's over there in family court. And someone was just he spoke out. He was critical about that system and was told allegedly by a friend of the court or guardian ad litem, that if he rescinded or stopped being critical, then he could have more custody time, and just made it very quid pro quo. And then he saw the Supreme Court allegedly introduced itself into the case and intervened somehow, which is really wild. So it just so happened that this guy was a big firm attorney who handled class action lawsuits and went to the federal level and said, well, I'm not going to get anybody that's not protecting the system outside of the court, outside of the, inside of state court. So I'm going to the feds and make this a racketeering case. And it's a fascinating case that he's laid out, because he has properly laid out, I think, the foundation for a RICO case.
And so RICO is organized crime at the federal level. We actually do have a statute in Kentucky. It's called criminal syndicate. But it's basically just organized crime. And so he is alleging organized crime by the family court system in Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated to see how that goes. It is a creative argument that I think only an attorney could come up with, but it's interesting because he lays it out very well.
Yeah, and there are a couple I've seen percolating, some like RICO cases or allegations from pro se litigants, and now I've never deep done a deep dive into it. This article too is from Legal Newsline. And just to give like the allegations, like you were just saying, first off, this is a father who is like a well-seasoned litigator, right? Like it seemed from the article.
Yeah, I think he was a class action defense attorney. Or civil defended against class action lawsuits.
And family court attorneys that have only exclusively practiced family law somehow get the notion, like sometimes they can be too big for their britches. Is that wrong?
I don't know.
I do know. I do know. Okay, I do know. Okay, like family court attorneys they've never tried a jury trial, and I'm not saying. Like, listen, I'm going to tell y'all, like, there's no way, like, as far as knowing the law, civil law, you know it better than me. Like, no question. Like, it's not even.
But I've never tried a jury trial.
You're an expert, though, like, in that capacity. I know everybody knows what they know, and smart people know enough to know what they don't know, right?
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah. And you don't fuck with a class action lawyer at a big firm.
And he has the, and I can't remember if it's friend of the court, it was a court-appointed attorney.
Yeah.
That is basically in charge of the custody determinations for his kid. He has a recording of him, according to the petition, the complaint filed in this. He has a recording of him saying, if you back down on the criticism of, the system, this judge, whatever, I'll give you more custody time. You'll get more custody time. Like just being told that it's that simple. Yeah. You stop complaining and that you might get what you want.
And if that's the case, first off, the guardian ad litem or whatever the equivalent there in Missouri is, they should be disbarred, obviously. Let me read just like a little paragraph from this Newsline. Is that what I said it was? Legal Newsline article. Matthew R. Grant, a former litigation partner at one of the 100 largest law firms in the United States and founder of Stop Missouri Corruption, contends the alleged enterprise, dubbed in his complaint as the Clayton Kids for Cash scheme, retaliated against him for exposing corruption, culminating in the loss of nearly all of his custody of his teenage sons.
If true, that is sadly, I think it should be shocking to people, but this just wasn't that surprising to me that there were these moving pieces that he alleged. And I think if this was in a different arena and he had filed this about something else, I'd be like, oh God, this is so fanciful. It's just, I've seen all of these pieces and these types of things moved around that, I've been told by judges, if you don't stop this other legal action that you filed lawfully in another court, I'm going to take your client's child right now. Like, as we sit here, like I've seen this actually happen. That this is fascinating to me just because.
Is this happening every day, everywhere, all over the country?
I don't know, but I always thought about, okay, this is how it is in my world and here. I have no idea what family law is like in other places. And reading through the allegations that this person is making in his complaint, it just sounds way too familiar to me.
Which is crazy. And I think we're going to see a lot of these RICO cases. We need to do a full, true journalism. We're just kind of shooting the shit, talking about our reactions right now.
And we've read one article about it.
Yeah. And so the lawsuit named, and I'm just reading from this, but it named the judge, the former commissioner, the guardian ad litem, the children's mother, the children's mother's attorney, two relatives of the children. So this is like the whole organized crime sphere that's alleged in this RICO. And they say he's got a recorded phone call where the GAL offered to restore custody if dad would publicly recant his corruption claims.
Yeah, that's shocking. And part of the allegation is that they've sort of set up this system that just generates attorneys' fees for the court-appointed attorneys. And I know that's been a big criticism of yours for a long time, that we're getting all these people involved. They are just billing, and almost looking for something to justify them still being on the case. And a lot of times that results in just creating or inflating conflict so that they can continue to be involved. I know that I've seen that.
Well, and it just shows the reason I tend to believe these allegations, because I think only someone that took court-appointed guardian ad litem work would be stupid enough to say that on a telephone, thinking they weren't being recorded, speaking to a high-powered lawyer at one of the nation's largest firms. You know what I mean? Like, no
Yeah, but,
way
I mean,
hell would you.
you get treated, and I mean, and some of the court-appointed people actually have immunity from
Yeah.
anything, and the attitude that I encountered so often from certain people that were court-appointed was that you can't do anything to me. I can say what I want because nothing's going to happen to me.
Oh, speaking of, we forgot to mention on the last episode, one of the GALs that we talk about all the time, we started off our Monday at Motion Hour with what? Him walking out of the back.
Oh, yeah. We walk into court. He comes straight out of chambers back where the judge and the judge's staff are. And it's like, yeah, of course.
So this is the guardian ad litem, regularly appointed in Louisville, Kentucky, literally walking out from the back where the judges are at the beginning of Motion Hour. And you were just like, oh my gosh. But that's what I'm like, the godlike, power-like complex. Is there another word for that I'm missing?
I mean, at the very, very least, the impression of, for anyone that hasn't just seen it so much they become numb to it. If you're coming from the outside, or you're a pro se person in that courtroom, and he's walking out from where the judge comes from. And this was, it's one thing if you're back there getting a date at Motion Hour. Some of the courts, you go to the back. This is the beginning as it starts.
Like we were having breakfast
Yeah, that's where he was hanging out. I mean, everything about it just smells so bad.
And this is what I thought was interesting. And I would love, if you are listening, we need to find this attorney. I'd love to have him on the podcast that's filing this.
Oh, I agree.
But he says that he has obtained text messages, court transcripts, recorded conversations, and internal communications that he plans to present witnesses from other cases with a similar pattern of conduct, which we've seen a similar pattern of conduct. Now, I've never expressly seen, if you do this, I'll give you more parenting time. Now, your case is egregious. The one you've mentioned about that case makes me ill.
But I mean, what's interesting about him being a seasoned attorney, he knows that, the public can get certain information through information requests and things like that. But as soon as you have a lawsuit, he gets it through discovery. He gets all of these things, and he knows exactly what to look for because he's a seasoned litigator and is just, I mean, he's thought about it enough to think, okay, if this type of activity existed, where would the evidence of it be? Yep. And where would it be in other cases? And where would it be and in billing records and things like that? And he's going after all of it. So I can't wait to see what he's got.
Well, speaking of, last night I had a genius idea about what we could ever do if we ever got sued by a judge for like defamation or anything. You know what we could do during discovery? We could ask for their Planet Fitness check in and check out.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So yesterday after Division 5, I literally, y'all, I was not right. Like we talked about on the last podcast, my anxiety was like a 17.2, and I've been like keto and like eating super clean. I was just like a nervous wreck going to court for some reason, just like all of the traumas. And so then we watched, it was like, on the last episode, it started out pretty good, and then it was just like this dramatic downfall.
Oh, the train wreck at the end.
Yeah. And so I was like, I went home, and I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. So I was at the gym. I did a little cryo machine. I went to one I don't normally go to, and it's 4:00. I mean, I'm seriously out in St. Matthews. So that's 30 minutes from the courthouse. 20?
20. Yeah, 20.
But I mean, if you're a judge, like getting on the elevator, changing clothes, getting out of the secured parking lot, 30. I mean, and I run into Brian Gatewood right there.
Division 8 judge.
Yeah, family court judge.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just.
Middle of the workday.
Yeah, 4:00 on a Monday. And he had motion hour that day at 12:30. He's the judge we talked about at his 12:30 motion hour like a couple weeks ago. Like so many of the files weren't brought up. But yeah, so, I think going to the gym is great. I think taking care of your mental health is great.
Absolutely.
And trust me, I don't get paid by the government. I'd love to.
I've known a lot of people that work for the government that were not allowed to go middle of the workday and work at the gym. I've never had an employer that would have put up with that in any job that I've ever had. If in the middle of a workday, I'm working out at the gym, especially if I'm not getting orders out. And I'm personally aware of cases that I worked on that were in front of him that have been sitting for, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are still sitting after a year that haven't been ruled on. I don't think you're writing those orders while you're at the gym.
No. And I don't think this violates our judgy confidentiality. If it does, we'll take it out. But ironically enough, if you saw some of the submissions that we've got over the last week, how many were Brian Gatewood cases?
8 and 4, the ones we see the most.
Yeah, I was going to say 8, 4, 10. Good Lord, about getting orders out. I mean,
about getting orders out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I get a lot of those. Obviously, our little lovely 7. And shockingly enough, I'm getting a lot more about 2 lately. Could be very brief on this, but so there are going to be complaints on every judge.
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely.
And judges aren't going to get it right all the time. Absolutely.
Well, they make somebody upset with every ruling, just about.
And even if they're batting 85%, like I'm not necessarily viscerally angry about that. I don't mean that in a condescending way, but we have judges like Brian Gatewood that are just like literally not keeping their docket moving, yelling at people, things of that nature. You know what I mean? That's very different than a one-off situation. Yeah. But we get complaints about almost every judge, but there are judges that get the majority of the percentage. Yeah.
I mean, go look at Louisville Jefferson County Family Court and look at the responses, and they primarily focus on one judge of the reviews.
So, but anyway, I mean, it's interesting to think about a RICO perspective in Louisville, and obviously I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but that's just so Valley Girl of me. But it's also there are consequences for actions, and I just think the system, you always talk about it in a way that's much more articulate than me. It's this huge machine that's only protecting itself, but the outcome of that is hurting families and hurting kids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's how I always felt. it just killed me every time someone, especially someone court appointed, where I would say this doesn't happen. The statute says this, but that's just how we do it here. That's just the way that it works. And it's but that's not the way that's not lawful.
All right. Thank you, guys. A little housekeeping stuff. Remember, send everything to judge-y.com. Also, we're going to start a new segment where we answer your questions. You can submit them to me, to Judgy, anywhere, and we are going to do that exclusively for our YouTube followers. Our YouTube handle is Judging the Judges, or you can just in the search bar, judge-y. Thank y'all so much. Anything?
Nope.
Bye.
Peace.
We need some justice. My life is fine, justice.